You know who it is, the Don Castaneda, expert life coach, recovery coach, intervention professional. I'm going to talk about U.S. Treasury bonds and S&P index funds. So I threw this into AI. Ask AI about this stuff as well. This is what I've been doing. I saw this in a article, and it basically you could turn $100 a month into over $600,000, or maybe even $1 million over the span of 35 to 40 years, right? So if you're 20 years old, 40 years later, you'll be about 60 years old, right? You still can't retire until you're 65. They're raising the retirement age, I believe. So, if you start investing soon, right, you have a good retirement nest egg. And S&P stands for Standard and Poor's. So Standard and Poor's, a financial services company that created the S&P 500 index, tracks the performance of the 500 largest publicly traded companies in the U.S. and it's considered the benchmark for the overall stock market. So I believe they also deal in retirement and 401k, at least retirement funds. So whether you know it or not, some of your money's in retirement is getting invested into the S&P. Um, so here's what it says: $100 lump sum investment, one time left alone. If invested 10%, it's approximately 9 to 10% annual return. So in 10 years, 259, 20 years, now much, 30, 40. That's talking about the 10% annual return, U.S. Treasury bonds. I don't think it gave me the correct information. So what would I profit total at these years? So it gave me some sort of different formula. 40 years S&P profit gain. Um, I don't think that's correct. If I invest $100 a month, if I invest $100 per month with compound interest, so you can automate compound interest, and you have to be very specific with AI. So let's carefully run the math. It should give me a clear outcome this time. So these are the numbers, right? S&P versus Treasuries. U.S. Treasury bonds in 10 years at $100 a month, um, it's only $20,600. But in 40 years, it's $664,000, right? So at with the U.S. Treasuries, they're at 3%. So in 40 years, you get $97,000, but it's more safe. It's more secure. Okay, it's backed by the U.S. government. Um, so S&P is the way to go if and there's not a whole lot of risk. I know the market could crash and all that, but it takes the 500 largest companies and it invests in those companies. So if one fails or it's not doing so well, they'll invest in another company. Just I believe it's automated. And the way to do it is just fidelity.com. Go to fidelity.com, set up an account. This is what I did, and they have advisors. You can talk to them, set it up, open an account, brokerage account, I believe, and you'll be able to invest in a lot of different things, crypto or college savings and retirement plans, 401k. So those are the years, right? Some people can invest 500 or $1,000. So total contribution $48,000. That's total what you invested. Trade-offs. So let's run this formula at 500 invested per month and 1,000, okay, invested uh, invested per month. So if you can invest more, it's obviously going to give you a lot more, like millions of dollars. Um, so this is the formula recap. If you can understand that, it's probably calculus or algebra. Monthly contribution 500 or more, annual interest rate, compounding periods per 12, number of years. Okay, so this is and compounding interest is what that does. Like once you make interest per month or for the year or however it works, it reinvests it back into the S&P or the U.S. Treasury bonds. So that's what compound interest is. And then after 30, 40 years, you can take everything out or reinvest it. But if you take it out, you could give it to your children or grandchildren, or just save it for retirement, um, if that's the case. So at $500 a month, if you invest at 10% annual return, um, you'll make $103,000 in 10 years, 20 years, 383,000, 30 years, 1.1 million, 35 years, 1.9 million, and 40 years, 3.32 million. So you'll see the difference between 30, 35, and 40 years. It moves, there's a large gap. It's a large increase because of the compounding interest once you get to the higher numbers. And so at $1,000 a month, this is with, let me see here, $6.6 million dollars. So that's gonna be with it doesn't say with is that S&P or is that S&P or US Treasury? Growing over 40 years are based on S&P index funds. If we run the same math for US Treasury bonds, 3%. So this one said didn't really clearly state, but it's going to be a lot less with US Treasury bonds. So $500 a month in 40 years you get $486,000. Growth projections, US Treasuries 3%. You'll make if you invest $1,000 a month, which is a lot more, you make almost $1,000,000, $972,000. So if that's more safe route, that's a more safe route. But the S&P index funds, if you invest $1,000 a month over 40 years, you'll make $6.64 million, $6,640,000 to be exact. And markets change. This is approximate estimations. Um, 500 a month, 3.3 million. That's still a good nest egg. You could do a lot with that. So let's say $100 a month. Uh, Back to the 100 per month um, investment. $100 a month in S&P versus US Treasuries in 40 years. If you just invest $100 a month for 40 years, total you'll invest is $48,000 total contribution, right? So you're turning $48,000 into $664,000 in 40 years. But if you invest in US Treasuries, that same amount, 48,000 is only 97,000. So it's a little almost double, I think, but it's not nearly as much as S&P because S&P is about approximately 10% value. US Treasuries is only 3% interest return rate, annual interest return rate. So, S&P compounds dramatically, turning 48K of contributions into 664K. So that's the difference. There's risk trade-off rewards. Look into it if you're interested in investing for your great great grandchildren, over decades. That's one way to go for your family. And if you just want a retirement nest egg, that's one way to get a pretty good amount, just $100 a month. So, it's going to be a lot more the more you invest. Check it out. Use AI. Talk to a Fidelity advisor, an expert, and ask them what the best path is. These are expert financial consultants. They'll give you the best advice and help set everything up for you. Okay, fidelity.com. And a lot of people might already know about this. Some people don't. It's kind of new to me, so I just wanted to make this video about it. That's it for now. Stay safe and take care.